Alright, I think you can guess I am under the Baja Edition here, and I wanted to talk a little bit about our swing arm and suspension, and also kind of give you an idea of how many iterations we did to build this final version of our swing arm and put that massive spring on it, as well as our custom tuned Fox shock with the remote reservoir. So this swing arm is built with the dome tubing, which is used in the Dakar rallies, and it has a buckling load of 18,550 newtons. So basically, if you're putting 18,550 newtons of force on it, you would essentially have no buckling from the arm itself. And the weight rating on this pivot arm is 4,300 pounds, which is on the reservation side. It's got a lot more strength and loading capacity than that, but of course we keep it on the reservation side. And one of the things that was important to us was travel, right? And what happens is, if you make a smaller, shorter pivot arm, then you of course have little travel, because you couldn't put a longer spring. The spring is just going to bend. So we wanted a bigger spring. This is a 9,000 pound airbag air spring with aluminum base and aluminum bump stops. So what that does is, if the airbag were to fail or it didn't retain air, you can run on the bump stops no problem. It's got a lot of load capacity. That's why the 9,000 pound air spring on each swing arm. And then there's a custom tuned Fox shock that we use with the remote reservoir for this application. And we place the shock on the outside because it allows you to have good dampening on the outside when the trailer, or if the trailer, if you're cornering or you're going at a high speed, that will give it a lot more stability. And the other thing we wanted to make sure was use compression fittings, of course, because the push to connect fittings normally have a lot of problems. This swing arm geometry is designed to have 14 inches of travel, but that's a lot of travel. So we've limited it with the limit strap that we attach right here on the top, and then we attach the bottom. So you have 10 inches of travel here. And on the alignment side, we use an octagon washer, and we use 10.9 metric bolt that has a very high tensile strength, so it can take a lot of beating. The octagon washer allows basically the swing arm not to go out of alignment, so it's a kind of a permanent alignment. And the only time you'd need alignment is if you were running a tire tread at like 30% of what it is now from new, and then you would have to basically, move this washer around. There are 5 alignment points, so there's no guesswork here. It's designed to move in positions where it will align the wheel rather than you turning the wrench. There's no need to do that. You basically move this around and it will move the bolt around, and that will do the alignment. But you won't need to do that. Hopefully by the time you have 20-30% tread, you're looking at changing those tires. And what else can I talk about on the suspension side? So the suspension is rated for 13,000 plus pounds, but also at the same time, what we wanted to do is, let's say for example you had a flat on one of your tires and you don't have the right place to change the tire. So you basically, what you do is you take the air out of that swing arm spring, and it will lift that tire up, and you raise the one behind it or in front of it, whichever wheel it is, and that saves you the day because you can run this trailer on 3 wheels, 3 tires. The other thing you can do is, if you ever need to change a tire, you basically take the air out of the the spring where the tire needs to be changed and fill up the other one. So it lifts the swing arm up and you can change the tire. So that's the other thing. Finally, on the leveling side, you're able to level much more correctly and have a lot of leveling capacity. So 10 inches is all around. And of course we use the independent inflation deflation for all four tires and all four springs. So you don't have, there's no side by side because it doesn't work for leveling. So let's say your front wheel was on a hump somewhere and the wheel behind it basically was lower than that. So if you had just the side to side and you inflate that side or deflate whatever is needed to be done, you're still in the same position. So what we do is we allow you to do just the wheel behind it, so you can level that wheel with the front wheel, right? So I think then the leveling application becomes true and important. The other thing that we did, of course, is the swing arms, right? On the swing arm side, we also added the disc brakes on the suspension side here, and to make sure you have good stopping power. All the wheels are balanced. Each tire is 4,300 pound capacity. They are Snow Peak tires. They have Snow Peak logo, and you can use them in the snow as well. They're not mud terrain. There's I think using a mud terrain tire on a trailer that runs a lot on the pavement is a disaster. They get really hot. All-terrain tires are really good for this application because you have best of the both worlds if you need either one. The shock itself has a good amount of travel. It's designed to match the travel of the airbag, so the air spring can sit all the way down to 8.5 inches and go all the way up to 23 inches. So that's a lot of travel. And we match the shock with it to make sure, you know. And we use the 10.9 metric bolt on the swing arm, so that we can have a good amount of strength on the bolt, and the tensile strength is very, very important. So we took care of that. And what else can I talk about in the suspension? This webbed limit strap is rated at 10,000 pounds, which is plenty for what we need. And we also offer an auto leveling kit, which is where we attach a leveling sensor to the swing arm, and as it moves up and down, you are able to the system automatically inflates and deflates the air spring, right? So if you're going off-road or you're going around a corner and the trailer leans a little bit, it will adjust the air pressure automatically. But that's optional because it's something that not everybody wants or needs. But we can add that option to our suspension module. Let me get out of the trailer here, from under the trailer, and I will show you what we're doing on the air compressor side in terms of what runs this whole thing. Yeah, by the way, we're here still at the expo, and it's great weather here. It was a little cloudy today, but still not too bad. And a little bit of outside the camper here. Okay.
What is the R value?
19.
19. It's 19, sorry. 19.
And here we have the ARB twin compressor. It's mounted inside behind the outdoor kitchen. The reason we did that is because we didn't want it outside and falling off and getting dirty and getting destroyed out there. So, you know, you could put it in a box, but I don't think that was necessary in this case. We also have two available ports on the manifold that you see there, the gray one. And from that manifold, basically, we're going to have two air chucks to fill up the tires, one on this side, one on the other side. We do not we were initially going to do an air tank, but then decided to move away from the air tank. A couple of reasons for that. One is air tanks over time will start to have moisture, and that moisture causes problems in the airlines and eventually ends up in your air springs, which is not a good idea. So we always run the fresh air instead of running through the tank. And the ARB compressor is really strong to fill up the tires, and as well as the air springs. No troubles there. And we have the suspension module here. This runs the entire suspension, and we put some mechanical gauges to not steal the power away from, for the gauges. The digital gauges aren't very accurate. So these are mechanical glycerine filled gauges, and they will always be accurate. Right now we're kind of no air at all. And the air compressor basically has the control module is controlled either via an app, or it's controlled manually here. You have manual buttons, so you can control it manually. You can inflate, deflate. So if I were to turn on the compressor, which I can do remotely, so I can inflate. It's a very powerful compressor, and people who have used ARB compressor, they know what we're talking about here. So that's the suspension module side, which takes care of inflating, deflating. We also have manual inflation, deflation valves if the compressor comes to, or the control module itself starts to fail or whatever, which is unlikely on a compressor of this quality. This is a great compressor. It's been proven and it's been used all over the place. Yeah, so on the outside here, we put everything behind the kitchen. Right here we have our wheels on the outside. Of course, we do the oil bearings, which I personally think are a great thing to do, because you don't have to worry about it. It's such a good thing actually that you can see the insides of you can see the castle nut, you can see the cotter pin. These hubs will run 30% cooler than a grease hub, and the maintenance is so low you don't really need to maintain it. You basically always check this oil level here, so you're making sure that there's oil in there. That's all you have to do. Again, we're trying to take the maintenance aspect out of the trailer. We're trying to make sure that the components that are likely going to fail shouldn't fail, right? Because we want to make sure that we have the high quality components, but also well engineered components, and these components are less likely to fail. And like I said, you can run this camper on 2 wheels only instead of 4, right? So you have that capability of redundancy, you have that capability of being able to not be stranded out there. Now the other thing that we did, which is something that is definitely I think important for a lot of people, right? We put the wheels in a way where it matches your truck track. So the track width of the Baja Edition is very close, if not exactly the same, to your truck. So if you're going on sand, dirt, mud, etc., you don't have to do another track with your trailer. It follows your truck's tracks. So that's very important. We also have a massive wheel well, which is very big and long, and we had to add 6 inches also between the tires to make sure that when you're pivoting the arm up or down, either forward or backwards, because when you inflate the air spring, this tire is trying to go this way, right? And that tire you're not inflating. Just an example, or you're off camber. What happens there is this tire needs space in order to be able to move that way without rubbing. So we have to move the tires, the wheel positions apart, so we can make sure and make that travel available. It's not just putting a big swing arm or a big air spring in. You're not going to be able to have good geometry if you don't have good wheel space. Now on the outside, now that we're here, I want to talk about my favorite feature, which is the signature feature of the Baja Edition, is this rear mold. Oh, sorry, I have somebody asking a question.
Sorry,
Hi.
material for the...
Oh, this is recycled wood, but it's not particle wood. It's like fused with some resin material, so it doesn't turn to dust. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, when you're done, I'll
Yeah, he wants to talk to you.
Please ask all the questions you may have. Just I'm on a live video, but I'm happy to answer your questions live on the video. No problem.
I don't want to be on.
I'm not. You're not in the video. You're not in the video.
You finish your thing.
All right. All right. I finished my thing. All right. All right, so I was talking about the rear mold, and there's someone in the camper. They have questions, and they want to ask some technical answers, technical questions. So this is another storage feature that we have that you can. This is a hard wall. You can hard mount stuff on it. So we offer this mole panel, but you don't have to. You could just hang your own stuff, put your own stuff in there, and it's perfectly fine. The ladder is inbuilt. So basically you unlatch these two latches and the ladder will just fold out and you're able to drop it down. And what that will do is give you, for the clearance to go down, to be able to go up. There's a little secondary piece up there which is basically goes all the way up to here. So when you drop this down, it will come out. So you have enough ladder to be able to go up on the roof if you needed to. And you can see this, we use automotive seals. These are all available at your local store. And one of the things that we did was made sure that fine dust doesn't go into the compartments, into your windows and door and all that stuff. So there's double seal on everything. So there's one seal right here. And so any fine dust that you see right here, I towed this from California all the way to Redmond here. And you can see the dust wants to go in, but it has a barrier. It can't pass to the other side. So this was one of the important aspects we had to deal with, and it's all insulated. You can see the insulation on this is pretty beefy. It's designed for this kind of stuff. Now the rear tire, of course, is indented into the rear mold, the spare tire I meant. The air conditioner condenser is up there. It's got 6 bolts. Easy to service. It's an 11,000 BTU. You take the bolts off, go to Napa, get an R134A, fill it up if you need to, service it from outside, done. There's a 13,500 pound winch at the back that you can use to pull yourself out along with the tow vehicle with a snatch block. Here's a little bit of the view of the suspension underneath, which is essentially a monster suspension. That's what I call it because it is. These shackles are rated to pull your tow vehicle and the trailer. No issues there. Okay. Talking about this model right here. This unit has a cassette toilet. So this is for the cartridge for the cassette toilet. If you do a composting toilet, we don't cut this hole here. On the bill side, the joints and everything, we use extrusion. And in the middle of the extrusion, we use what's called a polyamide to stop any thermal bridging. At the bottom, we use 36 bolts that are through and through, no rivets, bolts. Because you cannot rivet a composite panel, that doesn't work. And we put aluminum skin on the outside. So this is really to make sure that if you're scratching it or doing anything crazy, that it doesn't get damaged, right? This black part right here, you see this gap is because there's a double layer. So there's this aluminum, then there's secondary layer. All this entire piece, if you damage it, we can replace the whole piece. And your rear aluminum skin up to here, because we know if you're going on trails and stuff, you're likely going to probably damage, scratch, or a branch is going to cut through or whatever in here. We can replace this outer panel entirely all the way there, right? So you have your 30 amp power, which probably you're never going to use. You have your Truma diesel right here. you have your buffer tank fill and you have your main tank fill. In here, the same thing with the same hatches. These are Expedition hatches that are designed. You can see the width of the hatch. It's designed, there's a double seal too. It's designed not to allow any kind of dirt inside. So there's a double seal. There's one seal, there's a second seal. What it does is it makes sure that it doesn't pass into the compartment here. There is a diesel tank for your diesel, Truma diesel heater right here. Then there is the power system right here, very simple. This is for your shore power. It has reverse polarity built into it. And if you have any issues, it will let you know. And behind this, there is a First Defense surge protector. And here are all your breakers. They light up if they're working properly. They stop if they're not working properly. So hatches, thickness of the hatches matches the thickness of the walls, because you have to maintain that thermal isolation, making sure that it's... So these are the windows. These windows are Expedition windows. This is aircraft grade aluminum frame on the outside and aluminum frame on the inside. When we go inside, I will show you a little bit. These are strut based, so there's no problem that there's wind that is gonna break something. Nothing is gonna break. And the this is the other window right here, and we did some topography just for giving it a cool look. Now, with this trailer, you can do a 90 degree, and the reason is because the way we designed it. We put this angle right here, so when you're doing a 90 degree, your truck tail lights are not going to break. You're not going to hit here. And we also maintained the tongue length to the point where you don't make that mistake of breaking your tail lights just because you turn too much. So there's no jackknife stuff happening. In here, you have a massive storage, huge. It opens from the top as well. It's all the way to the bottom. This is designed for like snowboards, skis, bigger, longer, larger items. But we made sure there was access to 2 different items. You can see the thickness of this. It's also pretty beefy. It's designed to have access to the smaller items that you didn't have to go over from the top, right? Because the top is too high. This is 89 centimeters deep, so you can store a lot of stuff in there. We put the hydraulic actuator, which runs your disc brakes, in here, just to make sure everything that's mission critical is inside. So the tanks, we have a buffer tank and we have a main tank, water tank, fresh water tanks. What you see from the outside is basically nothing more than a skid plate. This is a skid plate structure that allows the tanks to be basically, if you hit something, you're not going to hurt the tanks. But it's enclosed in a very thick panel all around, so it's isolated from the outside environment. There's no plumbing. It's a clean underbelly. There's no plumbing outside anywhere. I'm gonna have to pause here. I've got to answer some questions, and I will be back.